So hello everybody. We meet again in exploring EAWANET community. Today we have Malish John Peter with us from ISPR. We're very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
First of all, maybe I will introduce myself. My name is Eldad Barber. I'm coming from Israel, and at the moment we're collaborating together with EAWANET community to empower and to strengthen the community in Eastern Africa in terms of capacitation and training and social involvement. We're very pleased for this collaboration and this chance to have those meetings and talks all around Eastern Africa. And yes, please, Stella, to you.
Thank you, Eldad and Malish. My name is Stella Akiteng, and I'm the EAWANET coordinator. EAWANET is Eastern Africa Work Camps Association network. And what we majorly do is we work to strengthen the civic voice among the people of Africa, but we also work with different development players, whether in Eastern Africa or out. And our major target, our major goal is working towards fostering mutual cooperation in our effort to bring about regional integration. We foster mutual cooperation and then peace building in the region. So today we are happy to have the Institute of Social Policy and Research that will be showcasing some of the work. Institute of Social Policy and Research in South Sudan is a member of EAWANET. So that's it in brief. Back to you, Eldad. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella, very much. Malish?
Yes, Eldad.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Malish John Peter, the Executive Director of the Institute of Social Policy and Research. Abbreviated as ISPR. ISPR is a policy research and advocacy center based in Juba that is registered by the government of South Sudan as a non-profit, non-political, and non-governmental organization. And since we established ISPR, we have been mainly doing some work around policy advocacy, doing research work, as well as building capacities of civil society groups in South Sudan. Some of the work that we have done includes, for example, doing some research on youth inclusion in governance and the peace process. We did evaluation and analysis of legislative reviews that included the Public Financial Management, the Petroleum Act, the financial bills, which basically is the official government financial law every year. And we also are members of different networks internally. First, we are a member of the South Sudan Civil Society Forum, where we support a network of more than 100 civil society groups in policy work, as well as developing the institutional capacity through trainings and developing relevant tools. We are also the sitting Secretary General of the Civil Society Coalition on Natural Resources, where we support the coalition in terms of policy work again. And like most recently, we did a successful advocacy around the petroleum conference, where we deployed volunteers to basically communicate some of the messages around investment in natural resource sector here in South Sudan, considering the fact that oil plays a major role in development as well as conflict of South Sudan. And the other aspect of our work includes really training a number of civil society groups in thematic areas like project management, in grants management, in monitoring and evaluation. So in a nutshell, we exist as a policy center that advances advocacy in different thematic areas. and we also support civil society groups to generate evidence that will be useful to advance their advocacy. And regionally, we are of course a member of EAWANET. We work with EAWANET to advance regional advocacy, basically to tell the story about South Sudan in the region and globally. So yeah, basically that's what I can say about ISPR and myself.
It seems like you're very busy. You're doing so many things in very interesting fields. I would like to ask you, what will be the impact that you believe that you're trying to achieve? Is it awareness? Is it a change of decision making?
Our major impact is both in two directions. One is the awareness at community level, bringing the voices of the citizens from the grassroots to policymakers in Juba, and trying to also influence the policy decision-making process. And this is majorly demonstrated through our work that we did in terms of reviewing some of the laws and also contributing towards the implementation of the agreement. Myself, I represent the youth at the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, which is the official body that oversees the implementation of the agreement. So through the RGMEC, I'm able to bring in again the voices of the people to the decision makers, which involves the regional and international partners who are the guarantors of the agreement. So we connect this in terms of our work in community as well as influencing policymakers.
It's very interesting. And did the Corona crisis affect your work in the field? Have your work did work change in the last year or so?
Yes, exactly. The impact of COVID cannot really be underestimated in a context like South Sudan, where we have still active conflict, we have excessive flooding in almost a third of the country, and the capacity in terms of resources for institutions like ISPR to adapt to the new normal of technology, where we need equipment, we need reliable internet, we need to have the relevant skills to even use it. So these alone have added a really significant layer of challenges to institutions like ISPR.
It's very interesting. Of course, it's affected everybody and everywhere. We have some pictures here you send us. We'll be very happy to hear from you what we see in those pictures, so we can understand better about the work of ISPR in the field. So if you can tell us maybe what do we see here in those first two pictures?
Good. The picture on your left is the strategic planning for the Civil Society Coalition of Natural Resources that ISPR facilitated and developed a 3-year strategic plan for the coalition of the civil society, for them to basically know what they can do in terms of advocacy in the natural resource sector. And then the other picture was taken during public financial management training that we conducted with civil society and youth folks, for us to basically go through the Public Financial Management Accountability Act and get some feedback and views from the youth in terms of what are the gaps and what should be included in the new bill that is to be presented in the parliament.
Very exciting. We have some more pictures from maybe some different events. I think it's even you there, no?
Yes, exactly. Now, the one starting from the extreme bottom on the left, those are the volunteers displaying placards during the Oil and Power Conference that was held here in Juba, where we mobilized young people to basically get to the conference center to influence the conversation, where we have hundreds of investors across the world gathered in Juba to discuss about the investment opportunities in the oil and mining sector. So that was quite successful because we had one person who sat on a panel to discuss basically domestic policing and how investors can operate within the confines of the law and ensure that they take into consideration community rights and in terms of social corporate responsibility and environmental impact of their investment. And then on the right hand side with the gentleman standing, that was a training in the bottom. That was the training we held in Rumbek, a region outside Juba, where we conducted training for state government officials and civil society on the national development strategy and the public financial management. And interestingly, when this gentleman stood up to present, he basically was surprised to learn that as a DG, Director General of the State Ministry of Finance, he was supposed to disclose transfers from national government to the state for the relevant ministries, because the practice has been that when they get this transfer, they consider like it's for the State Ministry of Finance, and as such, other accounting officers of the line ministries are not supposed to know what has been sent. So he was basically confessing that now that he is aware of the law, I think he has not been doing right, and he looks forward to change. And then the middle picture with the lady standing, that was a woman leader in, again, the same training in Rumbek, where she was communicating and trying to reach out to the government officials in terms of access to information, specifically on public finances, because through the training they got to know that it's actually a demand and it's a right that the public should know government budgets, government expenditures, and especially the civil society, for them to help raise awareness in the community. And then the picture just on the right with two men people standing in front of that banner, that was the strategic plan that ISPR developed in collaboration with different civil society groups. And you can see that displaying the final product of that strategic plan, which I'm happy to share.
Oh, I think our viewers will be very interested to see it. Thank you. We have some more pictures, even. You send us so many. It seems like you're doing so much work. What do we see in the right side?
On the right-hand side, the bottom, that's one of our colleagues giving remarks. We did a comparative study of the different public financial laws in the region, and we did this for the National Constitutional Amendment Committee, which was by then reviewing the public financial laws. And the intention is for us to learn from the experiences of Rwanda, of Kenya, and South Africa in terms of what are their underlying practices in terms of public financial management, and how can South Sudan borrow some of the legal underpinnings and practices that can better reinforce the new bill that's being drafted. And that's my colleague who was giving some closing remarks, actually opening remarks in the beginning of that workshop. And then the one above the gentleman speaking is a panel discussion on the public financial management bill itself. No, that was a training. I was presenting the same training on the extreme right. Yeah, basically going through the study report that we produced to figure out some of the key findings, the observations, and how the youth should take key messages as they go out to raise awareness in the media platforms, in communities, to galvanize voices that can speak with one voice in terms of reaching out to different political leaders and elites, so that some of the key changes that we see are reflected in the new bill, and most importantly, to really improve the public financial management practices of government, which apparently is not so great in terms of corruption. And then the picture just at the top, we have a group work in the same workshop. These are young men who are basically going through the same law, providing the feedback to the document, and basically to support the presentation that was made to the National Constitutional Amendment Committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so impressive, and also Stella, let me congratulate you and EAWANET for having this organization in your partnership. I think they can support so many different organizations, so much work that has been done in the field. It's great. I'm so happy for this match that you guys have. Mm-hmm.
And actually, maybe just for the record,
yes, please. Okay.
Eldad, Malish is among the first, you know, the participants, one of the active participants of EAWANET. So he told the historical story of EAWANET as an individual. And hello?
Stella, we cannot hear you very well.
Okay. Is that okay?
No, I'm sorry.
Is it okay?
It's breaking.
It's breaking, yeah.
Or should I put off my video? Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you can put off the video.
Okay. So what I was saying is that fine?
Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So I was saying that Malish is one of the participants of that informs the historical story of EAWANET.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we also find pride in the journey that he's undertaken, and together being joined by his team. So for us, it's an inspiration seeing what the Institute of Social Policy and Research is doing as well in South Sudan and other places. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Maybe it will take us to the next question. Malish, can you take us through the history a bit about the collaboration with EAWANET, and how was it in your end to be part of this great net of organizations?
Yeah, actually, as Stella mentioned, I am one of the pioneer beneficiaries and participants of EAWANET initiatives that came to South Sudan by then Sudan in 2004. And of course, this collaboration was there before, where we had representatives from then Sudan going for different events in Uganda, in Kenya, and even we had a team by then that went to Denmark. And then in 2004, during my secondary school vacation, we had this environmental conservation work camp in Yei, which is southern part of now South Sudan. And then it was great and amazing event that we had different volunteers from across the region. We interacted and we shared experiences. We discussed our future inspirations and what we want to do. So picking up from there, I became an active member of the New Sudan Students Association, which was by then a strong member of EAWANET. And in the process, I became the program coordinator, where we worked quite a lot on the civic education part of the comprehensive peace agreement, and leading to the 2008 census, and then the 2010 elections, and then the referendum 2011. And throughout, we had the volunteers from NESA, which is a member of EAWANET, really playing instrumental role in the process of raising awareness and civic education in communities. And then along the way, I also started other professional journey through different NGOs. And then in 2016, actually before 2016, we had been in touch with Stella and a number of colleagues in Kenya and Tanzania, how we can really maintain the social network among ourselves as EAWANET representatives, and how do we, in the long term, really use the different experiences that we build to make something that will have a greater impact in the region and in South Sudan specifically. So when Stella founded Intercultural Development Agency, I was one of the persons who also developed interest, and we kept in touch with Stella along the way. And then came in 2016. I went for my master's in the UK. When I did my master's and came back, I thought like, what can I really do differently? What can I contribute? Now that by then NESA, which was a member of EAWANET, has transformed itself, and then I was like outside now NESA, but I still feel part of this regional group, and I need to do something. And then I founded ISPR with some colleagues, and one of the things that immediately I did was to reach out to Stella and say, hey, how can we still coordinate as all friends, as all members of EAWANET? And indeed, it worked. We became very active within the network, and we shared a lot of expertise with EAWANET members and the coordinator, and see how best they can backstop us where possible. And I'm grateful that we have reached this far, and hopefully we'll continue to strengthen this journey to realize the impact that we want to deliver in communities.
That's amazing. So you know the whole history of EAWANET. You were there from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Beautiful. I wanted to ask you also about your impact. How can you, at the end of the day, with all the challenges that we know we have in the field, running different projects, and especially in those times, how is it possible to measure the impact in the field? And also maybe you can extend your answer for all the people that will see this video later on and are part of the EAWANET community, to maybe think of solutions, how to measure your impact. How can you measure any change or any influence you create in the field?
That's interesting and a very good question. One of the things that for us as ISPR, I would say is key impact point in future is to say, how do we get young people to influence decision making? We have a history, or we are coming from a history in the Sudan and then South Sudan, where we have conflict, we have crisis, and in all these crises, young people are perpetrators. They're also victims, but they're not in the driving seat. They do not take part in decision making. So for us as ISPR, our impact will really be measured by the extent to which we see our young people speaking boldly on policy conversation at all levels, whether in communities, in subnational, state level governments, or in the national government. That is core. And then another specific interest is to really start building a network of different civil society groups. Like right now, what we are doing is, because for South Sudan, the context is different. It's not like in Uganda, where to some extent we have civic space, even if it's restricted during electoral process like now. But to some great extent, young people and citizens have some say in the public domain. Here, the self-censorship is very strong, but when we come together as network, we can deliver much better results in terms of reaching out to different policymakers. The third one is about telling the South Sudan story. Because if we look at the current crisis in South Sudan, yes, there are a lot of the mainstream media reporting, whether on television, in the newspapers, online, which is great. But if we take stock of to what extent do South Sudanese speak about their own story to the outside world, in the region, globally, there are very few. And this is where we want to champion. We want to say that the South Sudanese stories are spoken by the South Sudanese, so that people, like regional global partners, can base the intervention with evidence of what's happening. And this is why we have invested so much in policy work, in research, gathering evidence. And that's something that we want to see happen strongly. And then the last one I can mention is to empower communities, to work with communities, for them to realize their value. And we can do this when communities start speaking out on things that they feel are not right. They start they start sending letters to their leaders. They start speaking about things that they wish should have been done. Because now we know that we are in a peace process that is staggering, and unless the communities come out, the public come out clearly to speak with one voice, to demand for what they really deserve, then it will be difficult. So if in the long term we see that all this is happening, then in my view, that is our visionary impact that we hope will reach there.
That's amazing. It's very specific. Let me congratulate you for a great work that you're doing. Maybe Stella, would you like to also add in some questions coming from a EAWANET coordinator?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Eldad. Maybe Malish, like this whole process and this whole journey, how has it made you feel?
Yes, thank you, Stella. It's all about self-inspiration. It's about really feeling as part of a regional and global network and team of great people, because we are now living in a world where you have to depend on another in terms of skill sets, experiences, and even lessons learned. And we have been very successful in this kind of networks, because where we felt internally we don't have the voice, then we use our colleagues in the region to speak on our behalf. And to me, I'm really proud that would want to see this network grow, and perhaps even beyond that East Africa, and see where we can really collectively have a voice in situations where communities are really vulnerable, they don't have the opportunity to speak for themselves, and I take pride of that.
Beautiful, Malish. We're so grateful for the opportunity to get to know you and the ISPR a bit better. I think you mentioned inspiration. I think for me, it's the feeling that I get from this conversation. Beside the great work that you do in the research and the data collecting and creating the influence both in community level and in the government level, I think that what you're presenting, what you're bringing is a huge inspiration to all of us. It's beautiful to hear it and to see it firsthand. Maybe to conclude and have a view at the future, maybe you'll share with us your own vision about Eastern Africa. If we're talking about EAWANET as a net organization that collaborates and creates the bridges between different organizations to create the change and better life quality for the people of Eastern Africa as a whole. What is your personal view on the Eastern Africa area coming in the next 20, maybe 30 years?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because apparently our situation in South Sudan is so much dependent on the politics of the region. For example, the current peace process is basically anchored and guaranteed by Sudan and Uganda. President Museveni is a big player in South Sudan, but then President Bashir, who left, and now we have a transitional government in Sudan that is also struggling. It's another strong ally and a strong guarantor of the peace process. Kenya, Ethiopia are other important allies for us to influence in terms of the policymakers, because Kenya is traditionally where I would say the midwifery training took place for South Sudan to gain independence. Ethiopia has a long history of supporting the revolution. So in a way, in the East Africa and Horn of Africa region have a big influence on what's happening in South Sudan. And that's why we feel it's very important as citizens. We need to be connected to each other. And the narratives that usually the politicians speak to themselves in summits, in diplomatic note bubbles, must be countered with a much more sensitized and aware regional citizens, so that they can also influence. For example, I can give a specific example. In 2018, we had a successful campaign with a Kenyan colleague in Nairobi who launched a Twitter campaign against the ill treatment of opposition leaders, of South Sudanese being kidnapped, then brought to Juba. and it was so successful that it brought in different voices, because that was the moment even some Kenyans got to know that what they hear as narratives from their government was not true. The same happened with a colleague in Uganda. Early this year, we launched, or last year, I think, late last year, we launched a campaign around spoilers of peace. And we used a Ugandan friend to basically launch this report because we cannot do it internally for different security and safety reasons. So East Africa plays a major role. And for us in South Sudan, we need the citizens of the region to get empowered to speak with one voice on issues that affect ourselves. Because what happens in Uganda, for example, now with the elections, if Uganda descends into chaos, definitely South Sudan will suffer. In 2007 and 2017, when Kenya had issues with the post-election violence, immediately the market crashed in Juba because our main port of importation of goods is Mombasa. It passes through Uganda. So you can see everything is interconnected, whether socially, politically, and economically. So as EAWANET, we may need to strengthen and move beyond looking at some of our social and economic spheres, but even look at governance and how do we influence some of the regional peace and security initiatives that really have an impact in our communities. And that's how ISPR will approach our regional membership in EAWANET, in other platforms, to say that we take the stories to the citizens to influence the policymakers so that we can also feel that impact in terms of the change, the pressure that comes to political elites, do things differently, and most importantly, achieve peace and stability, which is really paramount and much needed now in South Sudan.
Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you so much. We appreciate your words so much. Wow, it's so inspiring. Stella, maybe you want to conclude from your end?
I think thank you. I think all has been said, and I just appreciate the time.
Stella, maybe.
Thank you, Ella.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think all has been said. Yeah, yes. Okay. I think all has been said. So I just need to appreciate the time for this conversation, for making possible that this conversation takes place. And thank you, Malish, for taking the time to be part of us, and also for your priceless contribution as an individual and as an organization. Has been so resourceful, and thank you, Triple Profit. Thank you, Eldad. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stella.
And Malish, yeah, thank you for being with us and to share from your knowledge and from your time. We appreciate it very much. And if you would like to share some of your research and information for the rest of the community, I think that people will be very appreciated and can do great work with it. If we're talking about creating those waves in the community level, creating those this awareness, I think you can support us very much. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you, Eldad.
See you in the next
I will
meeting.
share with you. Yeah, sure. I will share with you some documents. There's a research I just concluded 2 weeks ago. I will send it to you through Stella, and then some key studies that we did on gender, on the youth. I will share with you some of this. And most importantly, I'm writing a report now on the impact of COVID on the South Sudan peace process. That will be something of interest for you. I will also share that maybe around mid-November, for colleagues to also have the chance to read it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please have a great day.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Eldad. Thank you, Stella. Bye.